A record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Here in Michigan, we sacrifice and do the right thing for our fellow Michiganders. When Governor Whitmer mandated we cancel vacations and weddings to help stop COVID-19, we did it. When forced to visit our loved ones through glass windows, as hard as it was, we listened. If, however, you are the governor and you really want to see your family in Florida, because we all miss our families, then go ahead. And if you get caught, just lie. If the governor says no spring break this year, then that goes for all of us. Except, of course, if you are the person in the governor's office who is in charge of vaccine distribution and needing a girl's trip to Florida, then have a good time. Don't worry about failing to fill out the state's vaccine order, missing the deadline to get an additional 360,000 doses during a massive COVID surge. Your tan will be on point this summer. And as much as we all want to get a condo in sunny Gulf Shores, Alabama, we should heed Whitmer's advice. Unless you're her public health director, then bon voyage. Remember, Michigan, we are all in this together. We play by the rules. Unless you're Governor Whitmer or work for Whitmer. And in that case, play by your own rules. Pure hypocrisy. Pure Whitmer.
Welcome to CIRCUMSPICE, the right side of Michigan. All things Michigan from a conservative point of view. Welcome to CIRCUMSPICE, the right side of Michigan. I am your humble host, Alan Ray, coming to you live from Gadsden Studios in the southeast corner of the fine state of Michigan. I invaded the western part of Michigan this weekend. I was in Grand Rapids, went on up to Grant, came back to Grand Rapids, had birthday dinner with my daughter, and eventually made my way home today after playing with chainsaws yesterday and having a good time. We have a lot to talk about. We really have a lot to talk about. I just love the hypocrisy of this governor and how blatant she really is about just not living up to her own advice. We'll talk about that and so much more when I come right back. Don't go away. I look at the news a lot of times, I'm looking for content, scrolling through things. It gets overwhelming. It really does. Some of the things that happen here, just in this, everybody looks at Michigan and goes, oh, what happens in Michigan? Well, all kinds of things. Glad you asked. All kinds of things happen in this state. It can get a little sideways and a little screwy, but God love it. This is one of those weekends where I am just so happy to be from this state. I was up at my mother-in-law's house having a great time. My brother-in-law and I had chainsaws out. She had some trees needed to be cut down. The one tree was in her driveway, and it posed a kind of a precarious situation because if it went wrong, then either the house was going to get smashed up, a power line was going to get taken out, or some of the vehicles, including my truck, were going to get hit. Now, we moved as many vehicles as we could, and I just looked at my truck and went, no, well, whatever. Well, sometimes your objectives get met when you set a goal, but just not in the way you think it should. The tree went down, and it went down like right towards my truck. I couldn't have even planned this any better. It fell completely towards my truck. I was kind of going for, about, 60 degrees the other way. Couldn't have been any better. Fortunately for me, that tree was about 6 feet too short. Whew. So yeah, got the tree down, got it cut up. Her driveway looks really good. She's got a whole new line of sight out to the road. And, I woke up this morning with some sore muscles. I went down to Grand Rapids and had a brunch with my daughter and her husband at Lucy's, which is down in Grand Rapids, just off of Ann Street. And, oh my gosh, great place, great food, great coffee. Yeah, get a chance, go down there and chow down. Oh, everything on the menu just looks so good. So there you have it. That was my day today, and my weekend. Basically, Saturday was driving and chopping trees down. Nothing I want to do that again that soon. But hey, we got Memorial Day weekend coming up. Memorial Day weekend's always great. I spent, and if you listen to Hardcore Patriot, you may have witnessed my transformation. I spent a lot of time, most of my life, not really caring much for Memorial Day. And it just seems like the older I get, the more Memorial Day means much, much more to me. To the point now where it's almost a day of reverence. And it just means a whole lot to me to go to my grandfather's gravesite and my uncle's gravesites. They were in World War I, World War II. I've got uncles that were in Korea. Basically, I have traced members of my family through every conflict pretty much since the Revolutionary War. That's how we got here. We came here as hired Hessians for the Revolutionary War, unfortunately on the wrong side, but my relative came over here, and from the reports I've seen and the things I've studied, looked around and went, oh, nah, screw them British. And they just stayed here. They just didn't end up not fighting and just ended up staying here. And that's how we got here. So there you go. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. But anyways, yeah, Memorial Day is just very special. And I honor, and if you're a veteran, God bless you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you've done. Royal Oak, the city founders of Royal Oak, the city commissioners, aren't as welcome on Memorial Day this year. In fact, one of the first things I ran across in Stars and Stripes when I was going through some articles is the mayor and the city commissioners in Royal Oak were notified Friday by two veteran organization commanders that they were not welcome at all at a parade and ceremony honoring military veterans on Memorial Day. Elected officials traditionally appear at the popular parade and related events in Royal Oak, and most of the city officials uninvited Friday are up for re-election in November. The unprecedented action follows a back-and-forth dispute over the relocation of the current Veterans Memorial and Centennial Common to another site because it did not fit in with the city architectural plans for the public area. The email, co-signed by American Legion Post 253 Commander Tom Roth and Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 1667 Commander Chris Templeton, was sent to Mayor Michael Fournier and Commissioners Charlene Douglas, Kyle DeBuck, Brandon Colo, Monica Hunt, Melanie Massey, and Pat Perrick. Only one official, Douglas, returned a call for comment Friday to the news, is invited because he's a veteran. The city of Royal Oak authorizes and funds the Memorial Day Parade. And this is the one official, Douglas, returned a call. This is the only official that returned this call when Stars and Stripe asked for comment. It says, commissioners will participate in the parade and ceremony on behalf of those we represent, all of the people of Royal Oak, especially those who have lost ancestors to the war. But the email was sent by John Williams, adjutant of American Legion Post 253, on behalf of Roth and Templeton, neither of whom could be reached for an additional comment Friday. The email said roughly, though Memorial Day events are open to the public and no one is excluded, please be advised that your presence will not be welcomed at this year's event. We ask that you voluntarily choose not to participate in or attend this year's parade and service, as doing so would be hypocritical of you. The email cites the leader's exclusion of veterans on the design committee of the Centennial Commons Park area, currently under construction. Veterans groups have opposed the relocation of the Veterans Memorial to a spot 40 feet away, which they feel will make it more difficult to accommodate persons wishing to visit or attend future ceremonies. Veterans conducted a petition initiative and collected enough signatures to have the matter voted on by the commission or placed on a citywide ballots, but officials have not recognized the number as sufficient and cited other reasons to refuse the petitions, including wording on the petition they felt was vague or misleading. So we have the veterans in Royal Oak fighting back. And quite honestly, it's their parade, it's their day, and they don't want hypocrites involved in it. I have nothing but respect, and I'm glad they're doing this. Now, I wish I knew more about what was going on in Royal Oak, and I'm going to try to reach out to some people that maybe know a little bit more and see if I can't get some comments on this. But, Memorial Day, it's about veterans, and particularly those who gave their lives in service to this nation. Now, the email concludes, it is not about politicians, particularly those who lie and engage in voter suppression. It's about veterans. It certainly is not a place for politicians to make self-serving speeches proclaiming their admiration for veterans while their actions show otherwise. Now, that parade in Royal Oak is scheduled to step off at 9 a.m. May 31st at Main and Lincoln and head north to 3rd Street and end with ceremonies in the new City Hall off Troy Street. If you're there, go support our veterans. Now, I implore you, I beg of you, do something for our veterans on Memorial Day. That would be absolutely great. But yeah, let me take a quick little sidetrack here. Welcome to everybody in the chat. If you're listening to this and it's Sunday night and it's about 9:13 right now, get in the chat room at www.klrnradio.com/chat. You'll join Jeff, who you just heard on The Lost Wonder. A great show, Jeff. He just gets better and better all the time, man. He does some cool space stuff that I just love. I'm a space nerd. I was talking about that with my son-in-law today. Total space nerd. I don't look like it, but I am. Ron's in the chat. Orty's in the chat. We got Bill. We got JC. We got GR. And it looks like we might have a couple people lurking around, One Bit, and, of course, Rowdy Rick Robinson. But I don't know if he's actually in there, if he's just lurking. He might not even be listening. So there you have it. We have veterans punching back, and that's cool. That's not the only people in this state who are hitting back. Now, I have been doing this show, unbelievably, for about a year, maybe even a little bit over. One of the very first things that I started talking about on this show was the flood in Midland and the effect it had on the people of Michigan. And so we were lucky. We were darn lucky that we did not lose lives in that flood. Oh my gosh, it was so scary. And I remember that night, I remember listening to that on a scanner app that I've got on my phone. The dams giving away, not just the one in Midland, but a couple others were overflowing. Things went sideways real quick. Well, property owners, and this is according to WXYZ.com, property owners near two dams that failed in Midland area have won a key decision in lawsuits against the state of Michigan. Judge Cynthia Stevens says the lawsuits can go forward, rejecting a request to dismiss them by the Michigan Environment Department. It's an early stage in the litigation, but the ruling is a victory for the people who claim the state contributed to the disaster. The lawsuits allege that unconstitutional taking of private property without compensation. Attorney Ven Johnson says that the state failed to demand repairs at the privately owned Edenville Dam and emphasized a high lake level to protect aquatic life. So the state of Michigan is getting pulled into this whole mess with the dam, as well as they should. I know the dam was private owned, but you kind of depend on state regulations a little bit, even though I don't like them. The libertarian side of me that emerges quite often says, regulations, screw that. But we're talking about something that could affect a whole lot of people real quick. And we watched it. And the owner of the dam, if you remember right, and the state of Michigan, they're going back and forth. Okay. No, it's the dam owner's fault. No, the state came to me and said, I have to have the water levels up this far. And I told them that that's not going to be healthy. And they just keep going back and forth. Well, these people, rightfully so, are just going to go after both of them. And I hope they're successful because we need some answers. We need to know what happened, who said what. And this should never, ever happen again. Seriously. A couple of minor things going through, and this is kind of sad. Calumet, Michigan. A fire ripped through the historic downtown area, according to the Detroit News, and it damaged or destroyed buildings in a historic downtown block. Now, Calumet's way, way up in the UP. Up in the Great White North, eh? A video was posted online by WLUC TV. It showed a shower of bricks as a building collapsed in Calumet. And that's a village in Houghton County, 275 miles northwest of the Mackinac Bridge. If that tells you how far up north it is, 275 miles northwest of the Mackinac Bridge. The fire began 11 p.m. Friday, and hundreds of people flocked to the site to watch firefighters try to control the blaze. At least 3 firefighters were treated for smoke inhalation and minor injuries. At least 30 people were displaced, no deaths. Thank God for that. Things can be replaced, people can't. However, Calumet, which is known for its copper mining history, has a population of about 750 people, and it's surrounded by more populous townships. It's kind of out there in the middle of nothing, but those are historical buildings. And you don't get a lot of historical buildings up in the Great White North because there's just not a lot of buildings up there, let's face it. So hopefully these people are okay. They can rebuild. Everything's going well for them. Hopefully they can get through it. I really don't want to get into the ranty, crazy stuff until the second part of the show because, believe me, I have some ranty stuff. So let's kind of circle around the toilet a little bit. At Rogue River State Game Area, around Muskegon area, be advised, Fox 17 Online reports that target shooting activities have been indefinitely prohibited at the Rogue River State Game Area and its extension unit in Kent County. Now that's right. Kent County was where I was this weekend. That's where my mother-in-law is, just not too far from Muskegon. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources made the announcement Thursday. An approved land use order implementing the target shooting closure was brought forward because of a growing concern for public safety. The amount and type of target shooting have increased substantially at these areas over the last 2 years, the DNR said. An increased use has led to concerns about target shooting in unsafe locations without proper backstops, target shooting after shooting hours, shooting beyond existing berms into adjacent game property, causing damage to forested wetlands, and disrupted flow of traffic due to parking along the county roads. DNR says the order will help protect the state game areas from damage and help prevent further safety issues, trash and noise complaints, and conflicts with trail users and hunters. Be advised. If you listen to this show, be advised that that's going on. That's up there in Kent County at the Rogue River State Game Area. I don't know right where that is. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've hunted that area before. I've been all over. I am having one heck of a problem. We're having catastrophes here in Gadsden Studios. Okay. Catastrophes are all over. We're back at it. We might have some stuff to wash. We'll explain that later. Anyways, other things going on in the fine state of Michigan. Remember last year, I was talking about how angry Lake Michigan was. I was talking about, and of course the environmentalists are out there screeching and yelling, oh, yeah, this is all part of the global warming, global climate change, yada, 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 whatever you want to call it this week. And the water levels in Lake Michigan were climbing and they were eating a lot of property. Now, I have seen this happen a couple of times in my life. I've seen newscasts of watching big hundreds of $1,000s of houses and mansions fall off of these sandy cliffs into the shores of Lake Michigan. And I always sit there and think to myself, why would you build that close to a cliff? And of course, my mother-in-law, who is from the western side of the state, grew up in Ludington, born and raised there. In fact, her family goes back like 3 or 4 generations in that area. She says those houses weren't anywhere near the coastline when they were built. And so she started telling me how this happens and brought a whole new light to it. Well, it started happening again last year. And of course, they were panicking. Oh, this is all climate change. This is all well, no, turns out it was just a cycle, because this year the Great Lakes level, as basically the water level of Lake Michigan here is 17 inches lower than it was in last May. Now, this is in levels of Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. And the level will remain about 1 to 2 feet lower than last year's record highs throughout the summer. Ferry operators prefer this water level to last year's, and after making major dock changes in 2020, are making minor changes this season. So, yeah, things like that are going on in the state, and that's kind of cool. No, Ron, I did not. In fact, the one I have just exploded. And I'm not going to tell you what this is all about on the show, but that was the problem. They're interrogating me in chat. And it's not the first one that's gone off today, Ron. We had a catastrophic meltdown. We bought a beverage home for one of my wife's coworkers, and it rode in a box in the back of the truck, and I thought it was just fine. When I got home, I took it out of the box without even touching it, and it exploded all over the kitchen. So we spent the first half hour coming home from the west side of the state deep cleaning the kitchen. It was not what we wanted to do after driving all day, after using chainsaws all weekend, but the kitchen is nice and shiny now. It smells good. But yeah, then we know now that stuff should probably have gone up in the nice cool cab of the truck with the other luggage and all the other stuff we brought home from the other side of the state. It's been a rough day, guys. It really has. Moving on. I was just out walking. I try to get 2 to 3 miles a day, walking, running, whatever, get my exercise, get my sunshine, and found a tick on me. Apparently we have a tick explosion going on in Michigan. This is like the 4th one I have found on me, and we have to be careful. Now, some, but not all species of ticks that live in Michigan can harbor dangerous bacteria, viruses, parasites. Now, the black-legged tick, which is also called the deer tick, is perhaps the most well-known because it can carry basically Lyme's disease. Now, decades ago, the ticks weren't very prevalent in Michigan. In fact, when I was growing up, it was very rare to ever find a tick in Michigan. Now, every time I come back from a walk, especially in the woods or someplace like that, if I'm out in the brush or I go through the woods, usually when I check myself, I can find at least one. And you have to check yourself. If your kids are out there, especially in the warmer months, walking your dog, whatever, be extra vigilant this time of year. And what do we got here? This is from mlive.com, which is always a pretty good source for stuff like that. They give you some things to a list of things to do to watch the ticks. And they're becoming a bigger and bigger problem as the years go on. Which, quite honestly, that's why we need possums down here. If you see an opossum running around, leave it alone. Opossums are your friend. They eat ticks. So we're probably going to see a whole bunch more of them as the tick population grows because they're the natural predators of ticks. So don't be shooting them. Let them go. They won't hurt you if you don't mess with them. So things to do about ticks this year with you, your children, your pets, whatever. Be extra vigilant in warmer months. Ticks are most active from April through September. Although black-legged ticks can be active anytime there are multiple days in a row above 32 degrees. Now, this is according to Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. So believe them or not, I don't know. You have to make up your mind about that. They've lied about other things. Use insect repellents and or treat your clothing and gear. To deter ticks, the Center for Disease Control recommends using Environmental Protection Agency registered insect repellents, as well as products containing permethrin, which can be used to treat boots, clothing, backpacks, or other gear. As an alternative, permethrin pre-treated clothes are available through various retailers. However, if you get those, you have to be advised that sometimes that stuff wears out after a few uses. So you got to be careful. Wear light-colored clothing and cover up. If you are headed into a ticky area, Cover up as much as you can. Wear long sleeves and pants and tuck your pant legs into your socks and keep the ticks outside of your clothes. Wearing lighter clothing makes it easier to find a tick that's crawling around on you. Don't stray from trails, which, I stray from trails. Oh, yes, I do. I like it. Avoid meandering off trails and especially try not to tromp through areas of tall grass, dense brush, or leaf litter. Do the tick check after every outdoor outing. In fact, that's best done with a loved one, your girlfriend, your spouse, whatever. Do a tick check. Those are always a good time. Before returning indoors or getting into your car, check over your clothing, your shoes and bags, or other gear for ticks, which can attach to something like a backpack before attempting to latch onto your skin. Check your children and your pets for ticks too. I've already found a couple of them on Ava Dog, and I have found one on the cat, on Enrique the cat. Look carefully. Feel around on your pet. You'll feel a bump on the bigger ticks. Adult staged black-legged ticks are sesame seed size, while nymph stage black-legged ticks, which are more likely to carry Lyme's disease, are the size of a poppy seed, which there's apps out there that can show you. Shower within 2 hours after coming inside. An attached tick can hang on even through a shower. So before you hop under the water, check yourself. Check all over, under the arms. Should you call your doctor? Some organizations like the CDC recommends a watch and wait approach, saying you should contact a physician if symptoms like a rash or fever develop within several weeks of removing a tick. Otherwise, you should be okay. If you feel unsafe about it, set up a Zoom meeting. Of course, you can't call a doctor now. Become a citizen scientist. Researchers at Michigan State University, Columbia University, and the University of Wisconsin recently developed the Tick app, which is part guide, part behavioral study, meant to track periods of tick activity and identify areas with high risk of ticks. Users can opt out of the study if they choose, but still may use the app to identify different kinds of ticks, report ticks, and learn ways to prevent tick exposure. So there you go. Of course, for more on tick and tick-borne diseases, visit CDC, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Michigan Lyme Disease Association, and the International Lyme and Associated Disease Educational Foundation. Learn about it. Yep. Hey, check me for ticks. Yep, still there. That's what JC says in chat. I love it. But yes, they're dangerous. I know a few people who suffer from Lyme's disease, and once you get it, it's really, really, really hard to lose it. We have already reached the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we're going to ask some questions, and we're going to explain some things about why Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson should be receiving a ticket for every single driver's license out there that is over or expired, overdue, or plates that are just plain missing. What? That's right. I said it. Don't go anywhere. I will be right back after these messages.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Oh, yeah. Tell him, Joe. Welcome back to CIRCUMSPICE, right side of Michigan. All things Michigan from a conservatarian point of view. I'm your humble host, Alan Ray, in the humble Gadsden Studios in humble southeastern Michigan. It's hot. It's muggy. You'll probably notice a little hum throughout this podcast, and that's my fan running. I figure it's not that intrusive. It's just pretty quiet, but wow. Yes, I don't have any of the air conditioners in the window, and I'm sure I'm going to hear from that. However, it's supposed to cool down this week. It's supposed to go right back down into the mid-70s, low 70s, so I think it's all going to be good. Things going on in the state right now. Michigan has now set dates for reopening and lifting all COVID-19 protocols, clearing a pathway to a wide-open summer across the state. Michigan is kind of moving along in the that stupid Michigan back to normal. Oh, my gosh. I hate even saying it. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and I don't want to say it. All right? Back to normal plan until the Center for Disease Control came along and basically just changed all the guidelines and made it so people outdoors don't have to wear masks anymore. And Gretch kind of rolled her eyes and said, oh, but I was having such a good time being a tyrant. Since that was the final benchmark and final incentive in the Michigan Back to Normal plan, that sent Governor Gretchen Whitmer and her office back to the drawing board. Her new plan now has set dates and is no longer tied to the vaccination rate to get Michigan back to normal. This is according to News 9 and 10. The CDC kind of changed the landscape, said Governor Whitmer. It was a little bit of a surprise. Good news to be sure, but we had to recalibrate our plan. So she's no longer holding the state of Michigan that much of a hostage. Now, here's the new thing on June 1st. Okay, listen to this closely. On June 1st, all outdoor capacity limits will be lifted, said Whitmer during a press conference at Dow Diamond in Midland Thursday. Graduations, weddings, festivals, and outdoor stadiums are no longer restricted. Indoor capacity will grow to 50% for the rest of the month of June. July 1st, that is when we will take our final step, said Whitmer. We will lift the broad mask and gathering order and no longer impose broad mitigation measures. It's a year too late, as far as I'm concerned. Everything will be lifted, mandates for mask capacity and distancing for both the vaccinated and not. That brought on another question. 70% herd immunity was always the goal. By lifting the mandate tied to that goal, what does that mean for the herd immunity, and what happens if the state never reaches it? She's hopeful to get 70%. Now, the more people that get the vaccinated, the better for all of our sake. Our efforts to do that are not stopping, according to Gretch. In fact, we are doing more mobile units than ever, trying to get people where they are. We are investigating if there are additional ways we can encourage people to get vaccinated, but the most powerful reason is because it'll keep you safe and keep your loved ones safe. Now, we know that she is anti-science. What do you mean she's anti-science? Well, there's two things. Number one, her administration does not include COVID patients, people who have had COVID, who have tested positive, have natural antibodies in their system, T cells that recognize and fight COVID vaccine regularly. She does not recognize that as part of herd immunity, even though there's only two reasons not to include these. Actually, there's really only one. That this thing does not allow T cells or B cells to fight it, or it does not recognize it, therefore indicating that it is made in a lab, therefore indicting Dr. Fauci, who will eventually get thrown under the bus because people are starting to turn on him already. Pay attention to that on a national level. Or, number two, they've been lying this whole time. They're lying now. They're still lying. We already know. Number one, Pfizer and Moderna have already come out and said, well, in 8 or 9 months, you may have to have another booster shot. Well, guess what? In 8 or 9 months, you may get it again, recover again, and have T-cell immunities. T-cell immunity can last 8 to 12 months and sometimes up to 10 years. We know that already. That's biology. That's science. That's real factual science. Why they're not including COVID patients in with the herd immunity thing tells me they're anti-science and this is all a political agenda. That's what it tells me. And she just got the legs cut out of her from the Biden administration, because I think the Biden administration has painted themselves into a corner. And that'll be a discussion for the hardcore patriot, because I try to keep this Michigan, but it is related to this state. I think the Biden administration has been caught, and they're painted themselves into a corner, because it's coming out more and more and more that this was a lab-created virus in the Wuhan lab in China, which Dr. Fauci has funded and can be probably tied directly to this exact virus. I think that's why you're seeing the all of a sudden 180-degree reversal on this whole thing, because they have to stop the questions. They have to stop. So if they let everybody go free, then the questions will stop. They're hoping. However, this does not make up 18 months of our lives that this government has robbed from us. This has not stopped the people who have died, old people who have died alone, without ever being able to be touched or see their loved ones again. This does not help any of that. I want answers, and I don't want to let this go. I want answers. I want answers as to the science that this bubble-headed moron we have in Lansing claims to have been using to keep this state shut down, destroy entire industries, not just the restaurant industries. Ladies and gentlemen, we have entertainment industries. We have industries that put on shows like auto shows and conventions and all kinds of shows that have gone away. Some of these are never, ever coming back. The people can't afford to restart them, and they were wildly successful. She is directly responsible for this mess. And guess what? She doesn't even believe her own set of protocols. She was busted yet again. This stuff doesn't, the mask mandate, the gathering stuff doesn't kick in till June 1st. Last time I checked my watch, it is not June 1st. Last time I checked my watch, it is May 23rd. And once again, Governor Gretchen Whitmer hit the bars this weekend and violated her own coronavirus orders. according to a photo that Breitbart News has exclusively obtained. Whitmer and a large group of friends, including her appointed Chief Operations Officer, Tricia Foster, visited the Land Shark in East Lansing, violating her restaurant orders in the process, according to the photo one of the attendees posted on Facebook. Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Michigan COO Tricia Foster with a group at the Land Shark in East Lansing. Basically, the group's shot of 13 individuals appeared to be in violation of the governor's restaurant capacity orders issued May 15th on gathering limitations for entertainment establishments, recreational establishments, and food service establishments, which say, and I quote, gatherings are prohibited at food service establishments, whether indoor or outdoor, unless consumption of food or beverages is permitted only in a designated dining area where patrons are seated, groups of patrons are separated by at least 6 feet, and no more than 6 patrons are seated together at a table, booth, or grouped fixed seats, and groups of patrons do not intermingle. If Gretchen Whitmer doesn't believe her and doesn't follow her own rules, why the heck should we? As far as I'm concerned, this picture, Michigan's open right now. Do your thing. And if she has a problem with it, if she tries to find one of these establishments, they just take this picture and they go, you see this? This was taken over the weekend of the 20th and 21st, 22nd. She doesn't believe it herself. Why should we? There's not 2 sets of rules. And what she's doing isn't constitutional anyways. Michigan Freedom Fund called on Whitmer to immediately lift all the orders this week. A recommendation the governor ignored, except for herself. Now, in April, Breitbart caught Foster defying Whitmer's demand not to travel to Florida for spring break, if you remember right. That's the same Foster that's in this picture. Gathered around, laughing, smiling. Hee. See what we made all the peons do? We're too important to do this, though. That's how she's been. Don't go to Florida on spring break. Of course, I'm going to. You hear that commercial at the beginning of my show? I've been playing that for the last 3 weeks. I love it. Whoever made that, I still, if I find out who did it, I want to buy them dinner. I really do. Now, speaking of that, let's get into the nursing home thing. And this is from justthenews.com. Pulitzer Prize winning journalist Charlie LaDuff has reached a settlement with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to gain access to data on the number of COVID-19 nursing home deaths in the state. The health department agreed to release some of the public records LaDuff requested. The department also acknowledges it can't determine if some patients killed by COVID-19 contracted the virus at nursing homes or other long-term care facilities. Okay, you don't know, you don't keep track of this stuff? LaDuff sued March 9th after submitting a Freedom of Information Act request for data on COVID-19 deaths, but the MDHHS failed to produce the requested records. The Mackinac Center Legal Foundation represented him. We stood up to Goliath and won, LaDuff said in a statement. While I'm pleased that some of the records were released, the state's overall response is alarming and disappointing. Still, this is a win for the people of Michigan, and I'm glad this lawsuit was able to shed some light. Now, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has now provided records for the ages and death dates of the COVID-19 victims, but inadequate tracking meant the department couldn't provide the dates when a specific vital records death was added to the state's tally or whether the deceased contracted COVID-19 at a long-term care facility. Sketchy. I call sketchy on that, okay? And yes, in the chat room, I will make them dinner, Raptor. I will make that person dinner for whoever did that. Anyways, yes, so LaDuff is going after this information. I have a very, very hard time believing that they can't tell some of this stuff. They have inadequate tracking. So basically what you're saying is all these threats, all these tracking threats and stuff like that you were trying to pull on the people in the state of Michigan with the spread of COVID, basically that was just a bull. That was just a lie. That was just a bluff. Is that what you're saying? Or are you lying in this case and you really do know, you just don't want the people of Michigan to know? Michigan Republicans, of course, have accused Governor Gretch Whitmer of botching the COVID-19 nursing home policy by sending infected seniors into nursing homes, spreading the disease to the most vulnerable population. About 5,645 nursing home residents died, and 77 staff members died of COVID-19. That is a huge chunk of the people in this state who died of COVID. This data is an essential part of the accurately of understanding the effects of this pandemic and the public policy implemented in response, Deli said. It also leaves open the possibility that the state is undercounting the number of deaths of those nursing homes. There is something going on here, something that Gretch and her band of hoodlums up there in Lansing want you not to pay attention to. It's disgusting. And of course, over the last year, we have seen issues. Right now, we're seeing one of the biggest issues. Right now, one of the things, okay, as much as I attack Whitmer on things, I'll give credit where credit is due, okay? I'm not afraid to do it. One of the things she has done is she has worked tirelessly to keep the schools in this state open. Yes, they did shut down a few times, but she, and I don't know what end she's got to the teachers' unions, but she has made a lot of efforts to keep the schools open in this state. I will give her credit for that. However, we have the perfect storm going on right now. School leaders around the state of Michigan are sending out warnings. They are seeing a shortage of teachers that is worsening. This is according to Fox 47 News. We are being asked to do more with less, said Dwight Pearson, who teaches math at St. John's High School. He says teachers' workloads with increased testing and legislative requirements, then COVID-19 hit, he considered retiring. At my school, and I think a lot of schools across the state, I am literally doing double the work I used to do. I'm teaching online and in person at the same time. And the problem is worsening. If you are a teacher and you are unemployed, there's no reason why you are unemployed unless you are a very bad teacher and have been fired. But there's Carol Bacchi-Diglio, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources at Oak Park Public Schools, says we're seeing the perfect storm for a crisis. The perfect storm being far fewer people are choosing education, so we have fewer coming in, and then we have a mass exodus going out, she said. The Michigan Department of Education released a list of subject areas where we're seeing a critical shortage. And she says some of the cases, they have to resort to using long-term substitute teachers, and that's very disruptive, not only to the students, but to the school culture as a whole, because you are putting someone who is not certified in that area and asking them to teach. Now, I really do have a solution to this, but they won't like it. Stop making education unfriendly to anybody but Marxists. Stop criticizing and throwing out people who come in with a different political ideology. One of the reasons all the teachers are quitting is because they're tired of the political drama. Schools have become political theater and indoctrination centers. Maybe, just maybe, make it more friendly to all political views and tell the schools, look, teachers, keep politics out of education. We're going to teach them reading, writing, arithmetic, history, facts, and anything that varies from facts. We're going to make darn sure that the students and the parents know that we are teaching this theory, and we're going to teach other theories, and make sure the kids know what a theory is, that it's just somebody's idea. Oh, and then more people would probably be likely to become teachers. How about that? All right. Now, one more thing before we get into the best part. This happened on the way to Grand Rapids yesterday. We followed this SUV. Absolutely no plate, no temporary license, nothing. The back of the car was just completely blank. I just casually looked at my wife and I said, look at that. It don't even have a license plate on it. She goes, yeah, haven't you read about that? It's like, no. So she tagged me with this little MLive article here. And all it did was really just kind of piss me off, tell you the truth. The number of vehicles without license plates on Michigan roads are conspicuously multiplying. That's because new owners say they're waiting months to get one. Motorists are desperate for better service from the Secretary of State branches amid ongoing backlogs that have forced motorists to drive illegally as they wait months for an appointment. Right now in the state of Michigan, you have to set up an appointment to go to the Secretary of State's office. And it's a mess. Right now, they're backlogged months. In fact, after studying this and reading this, I think I'm going to go online tonight and set up my appointment so I can get in before my birthday in September, because that's how far. Some of these appointments are 4 or 5 months away. So there's a committee. Motorists are desperate for better service from Secretary of State branches amid ongoing backlogs that have forced motorists to drive illegally as they wait months for an appointment, said State Rep Pat Outman, Republican of Six Lakes, who chairs the House Oversight Committee. The committee has asked Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson to testify at a hearing week. Not only can she not run an election in the state without it being completely corrupt and dubious, but she can't run her own department. She can't run licensing. Department of Motor Vehicles. Outman himself purchased a vehicle in March and in April began trying to schedule an appointment to buy a new plate. The soonest he could secure one was 4 months away. And he says, I go on quite frequently to see if anyone has canceled an appointment and I can get in and it's to no avail. So I'm in a situation just waiting to get pulled over and issued a penal fine for not having a valid license plate or registration. Okay, I've got a solution to this too. So I guess I'm going to have to run for governor or something. The solution is, if you get pulled over because this bonehead, Jocelyn Benson, Secretary of State, has got things so screwed up that we can't even get into the Secretary of State's office right now, kindly, respectfully ask a police officer to write that ticket to Jocelyn Benson and send it to her. If you have made a good faith effort to pay for something that Michigan forces you to have on your car, and they tell you, well, we can't fulfill our end of the contract, why should you fulfill yours? I think the Secretary of State's office should pay every single fine for anybody that gets pulled over without a license plate. And JC, they do have online renewal of plates. JC in chat's asked, why do they not have online renewal of plates? They have renewal by mail. But the problem is, if you buy a different car, you need a different license plate. Or if you bought a new car, you're trying to get the license plates on. And if you scroll down here in this article, a guy was talking about getting a car that he has been waiting an entire year, and he's been without a car to get a license plate to put this thing on. And he broke down. He had a $250 ticket because he got pulled over in the meantime because he had to drive the car to a Walmart to get groceries. Now, you can do a lot of stuff online. You really can. But like this year, I have to physically renew my driver's license this year in September. I have to physically renew it. So I have to go to the Secretary of State, get an updated picture, do all the crap. And who knows when I'm going to be able to get in? Who knows? You know, if you buy or sell a new car, or if you buy a trailer, we have permanent license plates, but you have to get the license plate, which means you have to physically go there and sign papers and do all this stuff, which means you have to make an appointment. Now, I haven't been to a Secretary of State's in a few years because I've done everything online. So we have a pretty decent online thing, but if you unfortunately have to go into the Secretary of State's for anything, which this year is the year that, of course, my driver's license renewed. And I think I spoke about this last week. I have to get an enhanced driver's license because anybody who's, they're rolling this out. When you get a renewed one the next time, you have to get an enhanced one, which means I have to take in my photo ID, my birth certificate, all of this crap, because basically an enhanced driver's license is almost like a driver's license with a passport built right into it. So we can go back and forth to Canada, which is the cool part. When Canada opens to the United States again, I don't think I want to go to Canada for a while. So yes, as far as I'm concerned, if you get pulled over and you've got an appointment with the Secretary of State and the cop tries to give you a ticket, suggest nicely, why don't you send that to Jocelyn Benson? I've done my part. She hasn't done hers. It's not my fault that she can't fulfill her duties. So we need to fire her and get her out of Lansing this next election. She's already showed us that she's not for the people and she screws up too much. All right. Man, we're already back to the top of the hour. This hour just flies. I love it. So guess what that means?
Bet you're going fishing all of the time. Baby, going fishing too. Bet your life, your sweet wife gonna catch more fish than you.
It is the Michigan Fishing Report. Yes, it is. In southeast Lower Peninsula, Lake Erie, walleye action picked up in the evening for pier anglers at Luna Pier. Those using crankbaits caught walleye and white bass. Washtenaw County bass fishing activity and success was picked up with every good catch. A smallmouth bass on Ford Lake, good largemouth bass action, and Portage Lake chain when using artificial lures. Panfish were caught at the Chelsea State Game Area on the Marl Pits and on Little Portage Lake. So the inland lakes are starting to heat up. That means it's time for me to get out on those inland lakes. Lake St. Clair, anglers are getting smallmouth bass off Mile Road. Perch can be found in the canals and large weed beds. Harbor Beach, those trolling in 60 to 90 feet found lake trout along with a few coho and steelhead using a dodger with spin glows near the bottom or green, blue, and pink spoons. Saginaw Bay, walleye were caught 5 miles north of the Spoils Island when trolling crawlers or crankbaits in 20 feet of water. White bass were also being caught on the east side. Walleye catches were inconsistent. Between Quinnipiac and Sebowing, I can't even say that. Fish were caught along the slot in 15 to 17 feet. Anglers have to cover a lot of water to find active fish. Tittabawassee River, smallies were being caught and released upstream of the Caldwell launch when casting artificial baits. On to southwest Lower Peninsula. In St. Joseph, boat anglers targeting salmon have done well in 40 to 60 feet, taking a mix of Chinook, coho, and lake trout. Those heading further out past the 100 feet have also done very well. Pier anglers continue to catch coho and steelhead when casting spoons or using spawn. Down in South Haven, one of my favorite places, they had good salmon fishing in 55 to 150 feet. Those heading past 150 feet have also done well for Chinook, coho, and steelhead. Lake trout could still be found in 60 feet or so. The pier anglers over there in South Haven caught a few coho and steelhead using spawn. Perch fishing has been slow. Kalamazoo River, a few walleye were taken on jig or crawler harnesses. In Holland, spring kings have showed up and were being caught between here and Petoskey when using flashers and flies. Ionia County, bluegill and crappie are being caught in the inland lakes again. Smallies and catfish and suckers are being caught on the Flat River and Grand River. In Muskegon, salmon action is starting to pick up. Boat anglers are catching salmon along with a couple of steelhead in 170 to 240 feet of water, way on down. In Whitehall, boat anglers are starting to catch a few spring Chinook salmon when trolling flashers and flies. Over to the northeastern Lower Peninsula and Rogers City. Water is finally warming up and the area is experiencing a major midge fly hatch, which means they're going to have some fishing like you can't believe. Target the areas with structures and run lines through water columns in 45 to 65 feet of water. Some did well with bright colored spoons such as green, orange, silver, while others used dodgers and cowbells with spin glows. Over in Otsego Lake, they were producing walleye, including limit catches. Bluegills and bass are starting to push into the shallows as well. In Alpena, those targeting lake trout are doing well in 40 to 70 feet. Run spoons through the water over in that area. And you can get the spin glows and the attractors, and you're catching some pretty good fish over there. Oscoda, lake trout were caught in 40 to 70 feet when trolling spoons. In the Osabo River, a couple of walleyes were taken near the boat launch when trolling or drifting crawlers, and upstream of the Camp 10 Bridge when trolling stick baits. In Higgins Lake, the lake trout were caught by using jigging tubes, jigs, and using spoons tipped with minnows. So artificial and regular bait. I've used the tube jigs with leeches, and we were just talking about leeches in the chat room on break. Great fishing for walleye with those. Up in Houghton Lake, the walleye have been caught near middle ground, so the bigger fish were caught close to shore at night. Panfish are starting to get caught in the canals. Up in Tawas, walleye were caught in 15 to 20 feet, more out near the artificial reef when casting jigs tipped with minnows. Northwest Lower Peninsula in Charlevoix, they've experienced a large midge fly hatch over the last week as well. Boat anglers fishing near North Point did well for lake trout in 50 to 60 feet, as well as in 80 to 110 feet. Up in Petoskey, they've also had a big hatch, so the lake trout were caught in 30 to 65 feet from the breakwall to the state park. Harbor Springs, my favorite place. Lake trout were caught while fishing Harbor Point West in 40 to 60 feet with spoons. Over in Lake Cadillac and Mitchell, anglers are out, and both lakes are producing good catches of panfish along with bass, pike, and walleye. Up in Ludington, Fishing was hit or miss. Few Lakers, along with the occasional Chinook or coho, were caught out from the projects and straight out of the harbor. The fish were at various depths, but 50 to 90 feet seemed to be the hot spot. Pier fishing was very, very slow. In Upper Peninsula, on Tonagon, those out trolling on the big lake caught primarily lake trout along with a few salmon. The fish were found throughout the water column and were full of smelt and pretty decent fishing there for smelt. Marquette, decent numbers of lake trout were taken in 160 to 180 feet, way on down. Train, lake trouts are being caught, and those trolling close to shore were still picking up a few coho and brown trout in Munising. Boat anglers report few catches for coho and splake, with no reports of any kings in the last few days. Lake trout anglers had mixed catches with limits one day and very few fish the next in the same areas. So it's very sporadic. Mackinac County, or whatever you want to call it, crappie and a few walleye are being caught on the inland lakes. And that, my friends, is the Michigan Fishing Report. Thank you so much for joining me on CIRCUMSPICE, the right side of Michigan. Guys in the chat room, thank you so much for hanging out with me and making this show so much more enjoyable. We will talk again. Keep it locked on KLRNRadio.com all week long, America's podcast network. There's going to be something this week that's going to grab your attention. It's such a great place to be. We will talk again soon, and I am out.